I also crave grease and chips when I'm stressed. Like French fries, McDonald's.
Crave that all the time.
Yeah,
Oh, it gets worse when I'm like this week between the econ test and the textiles test. It was annotated bibliography, which is their studies.
If anybody comes on, just
dude,
tell them back in a
it's so
second.
easy.
Huh?
The animated so easy. It took me like an hour.
It's easy, and I finished my half of it. With one girl who hasn't got back to me yet, and it's due at midnight, and I'm like,
We all do our own animated. Maybe you're closer. Oh, okay, yeah, so I guess she changed it up a little.
did a bunch of you guys complain about having to do an individual one here. So guys,
Oh, we complained about how the whole thing was set up as shit.
well, that's probably why she changed it. We have a 3-page research paper due next Friday.
That early? It was a final for us.
I don't know.
Did you have to throw an invisible pole around the room when it was in?
Yeah, very good.
Nope.
I just think you can walk right out there. It's right there. You can walk all the way around.
You should have a magic key card.
There was some discussion about
That's
that.
not a project. I have yours for eyes.
Okay, so I can download all that.
Do you have your laptop? You can get your own laptop.
No, I haven't downloaded it yet.
I think we could fix it. I have an idea of how.
But I can download it right now.
The thing I'm looking forward to most, Jen, is I'm gonna like go there if I get the job. Or wear long sleeves for like a week. Oh yeah, by the way, I have tattoos.
I don't know. I think I wear long sleeves the whole summer.
If you fire me, that's discrimination.
But we don't have any laws against it.
I bet you can still get a lawsuit out of it. The successful one.
It's an internship.
A paid internship. That means it's sort of, I don't know.
That's not exactly gonna help.
If they can
you.
take
I'm just
money
gonna
from me away from me,
Internship
yeah.
will help you get jobs in the future.
That's
You shouldn't. What's the point in taking?
We
it if
noticed
you're
you
just
were,
gonna do that?
we noticed you were litigious towards your last lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want me to, I will, but
I
I'm
mean,
gonna ask.
just I like got all my tattoos because I protected the country. But
Also, I was stabbed in the line of duty.
I'm reading at like 7:30 or 7:40. Yeah, I have a class. Or I have a. So. Okay.
like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the other people here. It's not even that, or the class is supposed to get out at 7:50.
I know. That's
I always leave at 6. Wait, why are you leaving?
Actually, it's
Oh, what party? What's that?
Purchase from Journey and Doc.
Leslie?
Is that what you did? Did you purchase from there? Do you know that?
Somebody talked to him yesterday?
No.
He's enough to say. Yeah.
There's like 10 people. There's like a million people now. Yeah.
You were giggling like a schoolgirl?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
When was this?
Yesterday in front of Larry, you and Aaron were talking to him.
Oh, I was drunk.
Why does it say that it's
Oh, man.
1999?
I've been celebrating how long I've been doing
Why? She called me for a call this way. She's like, so when you working really show it.
No, I would, yes.
Why can I? Is
I
that
gave
it?
you, hey, Will, you gonna go get your free pizza? She just got hers. Yeah.
I don't have computers.
Just like in Studio C, so it's like crap.
What is that?
Free pizza.
Where'd you get it? They were handing them out on the.
Mount Larry's ring yesterday.
Yeah. They just get around like every
I was there
Sunday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, the green?
And we get a
I
break,
was only
like,
at the green for like an hour.
we'll make it our eventual break, like 5 minutes before classes goes down.
I was starting. It's pretty big. Say
You think I'm
250.
joking?
I know this class makes me laugh just because it's like,
Get like a group home.
Class ends at 7:50, probably have a break at like 6.
She has a dress, like, and there are some.
So just for that.
If there's any for the baby. Just try to.
Take 12 hours. And I want you to get
Is that?
burning a lot of milk.
I know, but I went to this school. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was like, I'm not paying $2,000 for whatever this is. I'm about to be so.
You know what I find funny about this? It's virtually false. Because Rick actually said that. There was this article,
Yeah.
I guess when they,
Okay.
some Las Vegas like TV station, like was like reporting on it, they asked Rick, he said like, these bills are people.
Hey.
Apparently Chinese make the most money.
Yeah.
Because he
I'm
would
glad to hear
sell
that.
off his own merchandising and like just made bank. And like all the other stores like that.
So I was arrested for having a shit ton of that.
Apparently, yeah, the bookers. Chumley, Rockstars.
Who's that guy that you said vote for on my Twitter?
Oh, Rick's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
You mean you vote for Trump?
So.
He's a presidential candidate.
Yeah, I'm probably free. Berman loves Supremes.
Why is he not gotten media?
Because
Is he like cultish?
Please look him up, just look him up.
Well, I looked at his thing and I was like, oh, this is fake. And
Because he's
so
like,
I
no,
just-
that's
He's crazy.
That's one
I'm
crazy
gonna
person.
vote for him.
He legally changed his name to that in the 80s or 90s. He's been running for president every election since 92. With the same platform that he was. Tony's friend.
1 year he's gonna fucking get it and we're all gonna be screwed. I'm so happy that Adobe Creative Cloud only $10 and not $16.
Wait, what are you? It was like 68, like I didn't, like after I got like hired on as like production, $10 initially like university faculty.
Because I'm university faculty, I got it.
I wish the radio station paid me. I was gonna try to be feedback director, but I couldn't do feedback this semester because it was class.
It is officially full. 15 minutes.
You go to the party center?
Wait, why did it say $14?
Hey, bring your, what's the face to the party?
It saved my face.
Fine.
Like, I
Where are
really
the
like
party
it.
center?
Oh, it's a jumpsuit. I like your jumpsuit. Thank you.
Oh my God, you look good now.
He's true though. It's not here. He's just there.
Are you on the party center?
Order out there. There's another one.
Hey, Kara.
Hey.
What am I supposed to
Bring
do
your,
about that
what's his
photo?
face?
Yeah,
for the radio
so,
station party?
I want everyone to come to that fall at one time, so I'm waiting to hear back from Natalie, and then, sorry,
Bernie wasn't
so it's just a
radio
matter of.
station
I'll tell you questions tomorrow, they're like really simple, like, what's your favorite part of camp?
What's for this?
Yeah, we're trying to raise money for state
Oh,
camps,
it's Friday.
so we send out a mailer to like everybody who's ever given to extension, which is like 2,000 people. And I'll have your all pictures and then a letter that you wrote together, and it's just like be ready. And then we're also gonna use that information to create like non-outside.
Oh,
Thank you for doing it.
Hey, it's also pretty.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have our official photographer taking your pictures.
This is a good photographer.
Thanks, Darren.
Also, you said Bill.
No.
I've literally been in a meeting request and.
Oh, I felt like that too, all day, it's just crazy. No, I'm just trying to,
Touch base with Nancy. Yeah.
You know, public document. Have you seen all the
Are we still just do blood? Yeah, that's not like, you want to grow them a whole lot, I don't wear that shot.
Just to get me the gas for, oh, but do you want to keep it in that cover and we'll just lock the door because we're gonna use it.
Oh, the doll's open. It's like the same way that.
Yeah, I also put bumpers for. Okay, do you want to save it to my, do you want to save it to my flashlight? when I
Like
put
every
my
time,
laptop?
I like have really small batteries.
Well, the idea is.
Dude, I mean,
Yeah, I want to say it's like shut down.
okay.
And 360, Putting a mouse or a camera down yourself.
It's Bluetooth.
Margaret?
It's not working right.
Put it down her throat? What? Margaret put a Snapchat and it just, she just like,
Oh, yeah.
what's my throat?
Yeah.
She put it like zoomed in down her throat. And it's really gross, it's really high def.
Yeah,
Like,
this
I was
is
scared
really
to
nice.
Hey, once you order, you just stop.
Really good. To do.
Can Steve answer your
The-
Oh, I
like watch product display.
Yeah, I don't know. Shut down. Maybe we should start the computer up again.
It's over here. It's safe.
So that'll shut down this.
Oh, so I was I'm gonna break out. But Charles in here.
Okay.
I think that I just, I need to work really hard.
One tomorrow. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna stop by between 12 and 3.
Great idea. It's not.
Like, you know,
Click until.
Oh, yeah, meetings the last couple days. So, we're gonna do that tomorrow. Can you be downtown?
Yeah.
Same thing, 12 to 3 tomorrow.
D1.
D1, yeah. Close to the 12.
Okay, Brett's not answering, but I got the mouse to work.
No, I had it.
And the keyboard is still,
So no keyboard, but I got the mouse?
sort of have a mouse. I think the table is not reading.
So this is something to bring up tomorrow.
Yeah, this is something I'll tell Brett about.
Can't get the mouse to work.
Guys, I just wanted to let y'all know to make it really, really simple in the, on the website. Has everybody in here logged in pretty much and
Wait,
put in
here we
your
go.
bios? Or
Had it
your
for a second.
photo bio? Okay, put on Slack the instructions for how to do that.
Okay, let's try this one more
But
time.
what you can do for posting anything from here on out, the easiest way to do it is look at the posts that are already there, and I put in a little clone this post plugin. You just clone it
Oh,
and put in your own
maybe it's a
content.
range
That way you
thing.
don't have to do all the settings and
I
all
think
that.
that's part of it, but.
That makes sense?
Is that- no, and it's worked previous weeks.
See, here, you can get that, I got you. Not working at all.
We got it back. Oh, you.
P8, there it goes. Okay, I got it. Well, there's one, Try to get me.
Well, when we returned it, it said your computer's low on memory, so maybe it's a RAM issue too?
Yeah. Will you tell Chester that?
Yeah.
That should be good.
Okay.
Let's try this again.
Did you at least?
I think Denise is in here.
Hey, Professor Custer.
I mean, I know I just said I just. Yeah, that, and then she, I don't know, figure out what we should.
I don't know if it's Bluetooth or if it's the computer.
Hey guys,
Hey, there she is.
we're just getting set up here, so give us just a second. I'm going to grab the printout of the interview questions for Jess Stahl.
I'm curious. I'm gonna just talk to
We do want it all. Right. Eric wasn't there.
Yeah, I have my computer with me, because I was rushing here, so I'm using Rachel's. Yeah, and Rachel's down here right now, so
Okay.
I should be able to get in there.
Yeah, so if you could pull up the process. Probably just your next one. Probably really
No, see, I thought it was funny whenever it was, whenever I was putting it together, here towards the end. So.
Yeah. What is that?
Really good. Why?
Yeah, and I think, and it's actually got top, so she's got.
So it just like walks around?
Around the edges.
Right.
Yeah. So when you go to exit,
Is that a thing? For real?
it'll give you like a little preview, so you can see whether it has a background.
See, it's not here.
Maybe that one needs to be.
And then the very last one is like. I don't think it's this one.
Well, then it's probably the same thing.
There you go.
When they exported it, it was a little bit smaller. The resolution like one clip is a little smaller. So I would just take the other ones and make them. Let's see what you think.
Okay. If not, though, I also have files.
You don't have to re-export or restitch. You don't have to re-export them.
Right.
Okay, what do we want? What do we want?
I want to learn how to use like dog training.
Just leave it there.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, later, I was talking to Jess downstairs.
Yeah, we had the Bluetooth. It wasn't connecting. I think. I don't know if it's Bluetooth or-
I'm sure you didn't do it. I think it was great.
We should just document it.
Yeah, Will is doing that.
Oh, okay, good. So you're switching to a hangout?
No, we have that hangout. Up. Because I think she's on the phone.
Oh, okay. So you got Phoebe.
Yeah, he's getting set up.
Hey, can I go over something? Well, let me see. Well, is that computer controlling this or what computer is it?
This is.
Now, right. Oh, okay. I mean, it's there.
You're talking about okay on the other shirt.
No.
I'll just post on Facebook yesterday, it was like this, showed that his cat that was playing along.
Is the mouse not working?
Yeah. I'm at,
Okay. Do we need a battery for this?
we just changed the battery.
I don't think it's.
Try standing up and moving closer to the
Louder.
I'm not seeing, well, they're right there. I'm not seeing it. And while we're waiting on that, I want to go over calendar things, but our mouse seems to be dead. So if I could get somebody at each table, or if everybody could just go to your Google, so we can go over a couple of calendar errors I'm seeing, so that it'll help. So go to Google, bring it up. And thanks everyone for, we've met with just about everybody in class.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Lindsay and Aaron about tomorrow, so I think we'll.
Yeah, I can do tomorrow after the faculty meeting, but before I have a 1:30.
Okay, so Lindsay, if you can come around noon.
Could you do it between 11 and?
I don't know what we have.
Noon. 11:30. Type down here. I have.
We don't share it with them.
Right, you don't, but earlier, Mary.
Oh, okay, sorry, I'm a little slow.
That's okay.
Send it.
She was like, hey, can you like ask the medical examiner if those are the right pictures, the right faces, names?
Is everybody, we'll figure that out. Is everybody got Google up? Nobody bring up Google? Bring up Google. So just go on, and so notice that over on the left-hand side, you have a choice of calendars, like your own calendar. So if you don't have Google up, please just sort of look over somebody's shoulder. So you can see my calendar. Make sure you've got 493, WVU 493 connected. Do you have that, Natalie? Lynn, bring up Google, Ray, Google Calendar, yeah. So everybody show me that you've got the Google, yeah, you've got it. And then click to make a new invitation, or a new calendar event.
Where?
Just anywhere, because we're not going to save it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if you look in that, let me click on it so I can see. So just click to make one. And go to edit the event so you get more information. And then there's going to be the title of the event, the time, whether or not it repeats, the event details, where, video call, calendar. And where it says calendar, there's a drop down. It'll have your name. And it'll also, if you click it, you should see the WVU 493. That's where, when you save the event, you want to make sure you save it on that calendar. So we had some people who were making reservations, but then, hey, it wasn't showing up. The other thing is, even though you might just be using it for a portion of the day, claim the whole day. Because what happens is, if you claim just between like 7 and 8 p.m., it actually puts it on the calendar. And so everything else is up here, and your event is way down here, and people aren't noticing that either. So claim the day, but put in the description, hey, my event is at 7 p.m. in Martin Hall, or downtown, whatever, and I want to, nothing was done wrong before except that we missed a handoff. but claim that whole day so it'll be up in the top, but put in the description. Like you'll see some elaborate handoff that's going like, who's, Natalie, who are you handing, somebody's handing off a GoPro to you for this weekend?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah, Davey.
Yeah, so Davey's gonna, so what you'll see is there's actually some overlap. So right now, Davey's gonna grab it, then it's gonna go to Natalie's team, and then I raise my hand saying, hey, if nobody else wants it for Monday, I'll take it for Monday. But I'm out, and I want to make it perfectly clear. If you've got something you want and you want to shoot the camera, take it from me, because I'm just doing something extra because I haven't had a chance to use it. Anything you all do trumps it, absolutely. So take it if you want. But does everybody see the calendar stuff now? Because I think. I'm sorry. I've got something else to tell you about Trump. So please make this. We've got. What we've had is the equipment's not being used, but we've got our guest. So sorry, guest. Oh, I can't hear you.
Let me make sure that.
Yeah.
Are you good? Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can totally hear you. We were just muted so we could be chatting while you guys were getting into the mix. Hey guys, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Maybe I do feel awesome, David.
You are getting Jess Stahl and I in peak form. We both worked. Last night, the Washington Post hosted a debate, a Democratic primary debate between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And both Jess and I worked that debate. And as part of it, we had a live video stream. We produced a live show. We did a bunch of live video interviews from on-site in Miami for Facebook. We clipped the video and published it on Facebook, Twitter. We did 360 videos and the debate stage, which we published in the Washington Post. I love that all of you just pulled your laptops. Definitely watch it. I have my own critiques of what that video looks like. I am welcoming your critiques. I mean, that's the place we're at, right? Being self-reflective and critical of our own work. So would love to talk about that with you guys maybe later on in the class. So that's just kind of a setup of where we're at. We're coming off of a big news event, and
We're very tired.
we're both a little
That's what Phoebe's
tired.
trying to say.
That's true. That's true. Like good journalists, we are underslept. So Jess Stahl is the deputy editor of audience here at the Washington Post, and demystify that a little bit. So audience is social, but it's also thinking about all the interactions between users and our content, and that's what Jess does day in and day out. He runs, gosh, how big is he? Well, I think a team of 12, so quite impressive. And how long have you been at the Post? So I've been at the Post almost 3 years. All right, sounds good. So I'm just going to start out by asking Jess some questions, and then we'll get into a lot of the same stuff that we talked about with Emily the previous week in terms of story structure and how you think about video and assigning, but particularly we're going to focus on thinking about things from a social perspective.
Can you guys hear me okay? No, we're in a car.
Yes.
Okay.
We do better when you were direct, when you're not turned to the side, if you're directly.
Wait, I'm going to come a little closer.
There we go.
Okay, better?
Ooh, yeah. Much better.
All right.
Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, so Jess, tell us.
I'm awkwardly close to it.
That's good. That's good. Although look, we've got lots of space on the computer. We're just close IRL. Tell us how you got your job at the Post.
Okay, good question. All right, so before I was at the Post, I spent 5 years at a company called Voice of America, which most people have not heard of. It is U.S. government-funded international broadcasting, so it's a radio television station that broadcasts entirely overseas. So I'd worked there for 5 years doing the same kind of social media, audience development, special project production. And so that experience at the time that I applied to the Post was something the Post was trying to grow. They were starting to think about community in a more intense way. So I applied pretty blind. I didn't know anybody. I just sent in a resume. And I got it, which I feel really lucky about. I like it here.
And so you've been here for 2 years. Has your job been the same the whole time, or has it changed?
No, my job changes about every 6 months. So social media, I don't know how much you guys know about the industry, but it is a field that is changing all the time. So in the time that I've been at the Post, we've restructured around the idea of social media and audience development several times. So we started, when I first came on board, we thought of social media in kind of the same way that most places do. It was running our Facebook and Twitter accounts, and that was the main job. It was to put things out on social media, do a little bit of kind of social mining for story ideas, but it was really all about running the main accounts. Over the time that I've been here, we've really gotten a lot more sophisticated with the idea, and we've transformed from thinking about social media to thinking about audience and saying, who are the people that we're trying to reach? How are we trying to reach them? What do we want them to get from us? And thinking about all of the different places where that happens. So that's on social media sites, but it's also on our own website. It's across all the different mediums that we work in. And so we've expanded the team a lot over time to try to have the people in place to capture that idea and to be able to think about not only Facebook, Twitter, but lots of other platforms, to think about on-site engagement, to think about metrics, to think about search engine optimization. There's a lot that rolls into it now, and we've sort of tried to take that on board.
Great. So can you give us a sample day in your work life and tell us what it looks like? Not at all.
No. Every day is totally different. I mean, because so I personally don't run a social account. So we have some people on my team who their days are relatively structured. They run the Twitter account from, noon to 7 p.m. and that's what they're doing. And it's really like, that's the work. For what I do and the part of the team that I run, it is a lot more project-based. It's a lot more figuring out what needs to be done at any given moment. So some days are working with a section on a project that they're trying to do or some type of coverage and figuring out a social element to it, thinking through the audience of it. Other days can be working with journalists, training them on social tools, on audience building, on headline writing. Some days I'm working with our engineering department, building new things or trying to fix the coding on our website. It kind of like, because the role encompasses so many things, it really, like, you dive in and out on different things.
That makes sense. So, your day could involve running a Twitter account, handling a breaking news situation, thinking about the actual bones of like code behind our articles, or trying to spin up a special story or project. Yeah. Okay, great. What is your favorite social platform?
Oh, that's a good question. All right, so me personally as a user of social platforms, I'll do first, and then like Washington Post.
Great, I like that. That's good.
Two totally different. So as a user, I'm obsessed with Reddit. I love Reddit. I think it's so interesting. I think the like sub-communities there are fascinating. The people are interesting. I love like so much happens there on any given day. I think it's like the coolest. So that's me as a person. For the Washington Post, the two places that I'm really, really excited about right now are first Medium. So we're playing with Medium, which, if you guys don't know what it is, it's like a sort of light blogging platform. It was developed by one of the guys who created Twitter. And it's become this community of a mix of like long read kind of deep journalism and first-person experiential kinds of pieces. But there's just a really big community there of people who like to read stuff and who like to engage with journalism. And that's the type of community that we think there's a lot of possibility in, because that's, we do a lot of really deep journalism, and we want people to be able to find it. So I'm really excited about Medium, and then we really, really want to figure out chat apps. That's like the next challenge that no news organization has quite cracked yet, but there is like that one-to-one messaging that you do with your friends. There's something really powerful there for us that we haven't quite figured out yet. But when we do, it's going to be great.
Can you give us an example of messaging?
Yeah, so I mean, Snapchat is sort of a messaging app in the way it lets you kind of send messages to individual people, and it doesn't really have, it's not really intended to broadcast things beyond your immediate audience. But the more common example, or the more straightforward examples, are things like WhatsApp is one of the most popular ones, Viber, Kik. WeChat is super popular in China. Line in the app is one that a lot of people are using now that I previously had only heard of from America's Next Top Model, but that's like popular now. There's a lot out there, which is one of the things that makes it really difficult actually, because it's such a fractured ecosystem. So it's not like Facebook where everyone's on Facebook and that's like nobody's on MySpace and Facebook. It's all in that one place. And messaging apps, there's just so many of them happening right now, and it hasn't coalesced around like the one that's good. So it's hard to figure out where like different audiences are.
That makes sense. When you're thinking about new social platforms, like you wake up one morning and you're having a cup of coffee and you're like, I want to go discover a new platform today. How do you discover a new platform?
Like finding new things that are out there, or like playing with something.
Let's start with finding new things that are out there.
Okay, finding new things that are out there. Product Hunt is really good. So that's a site where like it's where people can post new apps that they're developing, and it shows you ways that things are connected. So you can be like, I really like this app that's a social media app, sort of directs you to other apps that are social media apps. That's really good for discovery. Also, just kind of networks on Twitter and Facebook is how I care about most things. And I use an Android rather than an iPhone, so I'm like the last one to get a new app, which I really enjoy because everyone else has like, done it already. You guys know I get it. So it's kind of nice.
They've already figured it all out.
Yeah, like they've decided if it's bad, and then I get to decide if I want to use it. By the time it comes to me.
So then let's ask the second part of that question. So you've got a new app. How do you figure out how to use it?
So that's a really good question. It's a really hard question. But it's one that I actually personally feel really strongly about, that like there's so many different ways to cope at any given piece of technology. Like whatever the thing you think is that it does like 100 other things besides that. So one of the things that our team is actually working on is like being able to poke at apps from all of those different angles and try to figure out whether there's one that works for like all the different things it can do, and what are the different ways that we like, want to incorporate things or not. So as an example, like if we're playing with Medium right now, the Medium, you think of it like first, okay, it's a publishing platform, right? So we're going to make a Washington Post account, and we're going to publish things as the Washington Post. It's really, really obvious. So what we try to do is go like steps beyond that and say like, okay, we can have a Washington Post account. We could also say we don't need a Washington Post account, but we want a presence, and that presence is going to be through our reporters. So we're going to encourage reporters to have accounts and build their own personality there. And that's the main sort of like emotional or like official presence that we're going to have on the platform. You could also go totally around the other side of it and say there is no place for us to have an official presence on this platform. We don't think it makes sense. It's not going to work. But we could see a way to engage with the community on this platform and get content out of it. And say like, okay, we're going to use this to understand what people are talking about, understand what people need to know, and then feed that back into how we do coverage on our own site or on that platform or on other platforms. And so that's like, I've been trying really hard to make sure that we get into all of those like other ways of thinking about things, because the one thing that feels really obvious is not always the right thing to do, and is not going to help you.
See if they see me.
Yeah, hey.
Here, and I think it's maybe move closer to the microphone, or maybe make.
It might be the.
I wonder if there's something else that we can do, because you guys, did you have problems when we had Emily on last week?
No,
it sounded fine.
something's different.
The connection's weak. It's causing latency.
I think the connection is, we think the connection is weaker, but when you get really excited and you're talking about stuff and you're turning to each other, and then you're turning back, then there's a lapse, and sometimes there is a delay and we'll miss stuff.
You wanna?
And you'll miss. Well, that's no good. We don't want you to miss us.
No. When you're leaning up close like this.
Yeah, really close. No, not.
We got a close talk. We got a close talk for the whole class.
I will not look at Phoebe.
Perfect.
A wall between us. David, were we on
doing the same thing?
A different screen last
No,
time?
everything was the same last time. I don't know. Maybe
I
it's
think
a
it might be.
connection.
I don't know.
What do you think, Denise and Emily? How does it sound? So.
I've got a
Yeah,
little bit of static.
I missed a little bit.
I missed a little bit, but I caught the gist.
David, should we try hanging up and doing a new hangout?
I think try that. See if that helps.
Yeah, let's just pause for just a second and see you close this one out and try a fresh hangout.
All right,
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah.
I know.
It was getting so like I can't follow this conversation.
There's a lot more
She said
people
kick,
in
I
the
heard
center.
kick, and I heard fiber.
I couldn't understand.
You think it's the center?
Like a lot of more people are using like
Well,
Wi-Fi.
Emily said it's kind of sketchy for her too, so, and it sounded like Denise was having.
Are you doing a whole new one?
No, just leave it on.
David, you remember that time we tested out with Brett and he did something to fix it, like fix it? Like remember when we were talking to him at first, it sounded like he was underwater.
That was on his end.
Became clear,
He
yeah.
just used a different camera.
Maybe it might be that.
I think it might be their connection. Hopefully she'll reset the Wi-Fi. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. So they all signed off. I think they might be waiting for another invite. What?
It's valuable information. We don't want to miss anything.
There you go. Yeah, okay. All right.
Is it in bright light?
You know what we need to do is let's see here Denise's audio.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, Melissa. Hello?
Yeah, we want to hear you some and see what.
La 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 la. No?
You sound great, Denise.
Yeah, you're really clear. Okay, Phoebe?
How are we?
Oh, this is better.
Yeah.
Better?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yay.
Good.
Yeah, and now you're closer too, so close.
No, that's not.
But it's better. Yeah.
I think that's about as close as I want to go.
Sorry to disrupt, but
No. I'm glad you guys
No.
said something.
I don't want to be talking and no one's hearing what I'm saying. It's not helpful.
I'm enjoying the conversation, but I can talk with Jess every day. All right, so better quality, guys?
Yeah, much
Yeah.
better.
Okay, great.
can I ask a quick question before you get started? Is there any
Yeah, please.
that you want that, like, hey, I wanted to hear that?
The part where she was talking about the, I forget, it's like where she looks and finds new apps, like
I missed that too.
Cool.
Right. So,
Here, I'll ask it over so you have it fresh.
No.
Jess,
that was it.
where did you find out about these social apps?
So I was recommending a website, an app called Product Hunt. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
what was it?
Product Hunt. PRODUCTHUNT. So like hunting for products. And it's where a lot of app developers post their app. And it's really good at connecting things that are similar and helping you like extrapolate from things that you're interested in to new things that are coming on the market. So it's really, really helpful. Even if you're not interested in social media, but you want you're into like cool video editing apps or photo apps, it'll like take your interests and show you other things that are cool in your area. So I really like it.
Sounds good. All right, where were we? All right, so how do you decide what social tool to use for a particular project, like a particular project that you're working on or story that you're working on?
That is a really good question. So the thing that I really believe deeply, and I know not everyone agrees with this, but I really, really want the platform and the technologies to follow from the idea and the goals. So I never go into something saying, like, I want to do a Twitter thing, and we're going to find an idea to do that. I almost always go from, this is the project we want to do, these are the people we want to reach, what's the right platform to be able to do that? And I could see, sometimes we can make an argument the other way. There's something we want to test out. There's something we've been dying to play with, and we'll find a use case for it. But I think it's almost always stronger to say, like, this is what I want to do, and figure out what the technologies and platforms that are going to support that will be.
So then, flip side, how do you figure out what a platform is good at or good for?
So I don't know, did you guys hear earlier when we were talking about, like, how do we test out new social platforms? Nod / raise a hand or something. So I know if I'm going to repeat myself.
Go ahead, repeat yourself.
Okay. So I was saying, in terms of kind of how we test out new social platforms here and how we figure out what the range of things we can use them for are, we have people on the social team that work really deeply with non-traditional platforms, so things that are not Facebook and Twitter, trying to figure out what we can get out of them and poking at all of the different ways that we might potentially use them. So I was saying before, like, one of the really obvious ways for any social platform is have a Washington Post account, post stuff to the Washington Post account, and have it be like an official brand presence. But we try really hard to also think about, like, all the other range of ways that we could use something are. So maybe we have a Washington Post account, but instead of thinking about it as a promotional vehicle where we post stuff, we think about it as a community building vehicle, and we do, we tap into a community and we ask questions and we try to build something that's really participatory. Or maybe we say we don't need a Washington Post account at all. We want to focus on reporters and reporters building their communities on this platform. Or we might say we don't need any sort of Washington Post presence, brand, or reporters, and we're going to use this platform to understand what people are talking about, listen, and feed that back into other types of coverage that we're doing. So with any given platform, we kind of go through that process, and we try really hard to, like, figure out all of the different ways that it is useful for us and rule out ways that's really not useful for us. And then we have all of that learning kind of rolling around in our heads. So for any given project, we can pull all of that together and say, like, this is the audience that's on these platforms. This is what this platform is really good at. And so it makes sense to try to do XYZ project that we're trying to do. So for example, we have a presence on Kik, which is a messaging app. I don't know if any of you use it. It's typically trends a little bit younger, trends a little bit female, and it's particularly good at doing, like, choose your own adventure kind of activities is, like, what that platform really excels at. And so, if we were doing something that really matched up with all of those qualities and matched up with that audience, we might think about looking at that platform specifically, where we wouldn't if we were looking at an audience that's maybe a little bit older or, not as tech savvy or something like that. Like, really being able to match the audience of a platform, what we know about its strengths are, to what we're trying to accomplish, and you can kind of marry all of those things together to come out with the best outcome.
Do you guys have questions about that?
Yeah, well, for me, it's just because I'm not too familiar with Kik. But what all can you accomplish with that in terms of, like, promotion, like promoting a brand?
Sorry, can you say that one more time, or can somebody repeat it closer to the thing?
Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah. Hot seat.
Come on up. Hot seat. Hot seat.
And spin. So.
Hello.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm sleep deprived. I'm sorry. So, I was saying, like, because I'm not personally familiar with Kick, but how can you use it? Like, are you using it as like a promotional tool, like promote the brand, or what else are you using it for? And how does that work?
Yeah, so for Kick specifically, it's something that we played around with a little bit. It's not one of our kind of major tools right now. We haven't found an awesome use case for it, to be quite honest with you. It is, so we definitely used it as like an official Washington Post presence. And we played around for a while. We thought about it not as like promotion for our articles, like it wasn't a traffic driving kind of thing. But you can do like really interesting quizzes on there. So you can do like a quiz of the day, like how much do you know about XYZ topic. And you can do, like I said, like choose your own adventure, which I don't fully understand, to be honest with you, but like MTV is really good on there. There's a lot of brands that are really good on there and do like interactive kind of experiences through this like almost text messagey kind of thing. So we played around with it a little bit for that. Our audience at the Washington Post is not, like, tends to be a little bit older than the Kick demographic. And we don't do a lot of projects here that are aimed that young, quite frankly. So we haven't found a great use case for it. But I think part of the point is, like, we wouldn't know that without having spent quite a bit of time playing around with it and being willing to, like, devote a couple of weeks to just going in on that platform, trying it, and then saying, like, well, this is what it is. We don't want it right now, but we're going to keep it in our back pocket for later.
Okay, cool.
That's actually a great question. Do you have a good example of a platform that you played around with, put in your back pocket, and then found a great use case for?
I mean, Snapchat in a way. Like, Snapchat is kind of like that, where we started playing with it and we didn't really know as a brand what to do with it. You know, it's really obvious what, as a user, you do with it, but we didn't know what a brand does with it. And so we kind of, like, sat on it for a while. We were using it, but not really in any kind of strategic way. And then eventually we kind of figured out what our audience wanted from us there and how to provide something that felt really good on that platform. And now I'm really excited about our Snapchat presence. We're doing it to, like, expose what our reporters are working on and kind of show people places and things that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. We've done some really interactive things that take advantage of the messaging capabilities of Snapchat. So we've done some like around elections, we did some call-outs asking who people were voting for and sort of hearing back from people. So that's one where I think we, like, sat on it in a, like, low-level way for a while before starting to get to a place where, you know, I think we still have a long way to go to getting something really great out of it, but we finally understand at least, like, how to move in the right direction with that. I think our Tumblr is actually also a great example of that. We did Tumblr for a while. Like, someone who didn't care that much about it was running it. It kind of went defunct. We didn't really know what to do with it. And over the past year and a half, we put a lot of effort into growing that community back up, figuring out what they like. And actually, I had a long meeting today with the woman who runs our Tumblr, finally, like, laying out a real strategy for it and saying, like, okay, we understand it now. This is what we want to do, and here's the plan going forward. So I'm really excited about that one. Actually, I think that's going to become a cool platform for us.
What does work for us on Tumblr?
So Tumblr, anything about identity politics is really popular on Tumblr. So that's an area that we want to play with a lot more. And the challenge is that Tumblr is so good at identity politics that there's a real possibility for us to, like, be inauthentic and put stuff out there that doesn't resonate properly with people, because the way that you cover those kind of issues for a newspaper is super different than the way you talk about it on Tumblr, right? So that's one of the challenges that we're trying to work through, is how do you take the great coverage that we're doing of these topics that really matter to people on Tumblr, or on any platform, quite frankly, and make it and sort of transform it into something that feels native for that platform and doesn't like come off with the wrong tone because it was originally conceived for somewhere else.
That's an interesting thing that actually leads into what I was going to get into next, right? So you write a story or you film a video, but then you have to also think about how the essence of that story or the basic point of it lives on different platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a reporter and I have a story. How do you sort of talk with the reporter to help figure out what the right way to tell that story is on a different platform?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So part of it actually depends a lot whether the story is for print or not. And that's sort of unfortunate, or not unfortunate, but like, in our world, we would rather every story be written for digital, and we could frame it however we wanted, and we could make it into whatever we wanted. And the fact of the matter is that we have to put out a print paper every day. We love our print paper. I'm not trying to say that we don't, but that just because it has to be created for that platform, and the print paper is a platform with its own sensibility. But we will we'll spend a lot of time with a reporter who has an idea that, in particular, has a lot of digital potential, and they're thinking about it for digital first. And we will start like way back at the beginning, thinking about who the story is for, what they're trying to tell, and what elements we need to pull together to tell that story, whether it's multimedia for our site or tapping into a community on Facebook that knows more about this than we do. So we'll like spend some of that time up front to figure out how we want to frame things, where we want to think about putting them. And then we'll also kind of engage on the back end once a story is created, thinking about what elements we want to pull out to promote it on different platforms, what pieces of it are going to play in different ways for different platforms, whether there are ways that we need to like rejigger it around or like pull things in a different way to make it work on different platforms, which we've done. We've actually sometimes, we write a lot of really big, long enterprise journalism where we'll take a look at it and say like, well, can we just pull this element out and make a separate article? Because like this is way more interesting. Like Facebook is gonna like this little nugget, and that's something that we're actually trying to do more lately. Because if we don't do it, someone else is gonna do it and get all that traffic instead of us. So, yeah.
So speaking of, what's a piece of journalism that you've seen on social recently that you really
Sorry.
It's okay.
A piece of journalism that I've seen on social, like a project conceived for social.
I'm open. I mean, I think anything where you sort of it came from journalism, but the way that they rolled the project out on social you thought was particularly
See, that is a really great question. So one of the things that I am really excited about in the world that's like coming in the world, and this is out of super traditional journalism and it could be awful, but I'm really excited about the New York Times' new coverage area around like streaming media, which hasn't rolled out yet, but I have sort of like the vision in my head of how it's going to roll out, and if they do it this way, it'll be awesome. But I think like that was a really, really smart combination of like learning that they have aggregated in the past of products that work for them. So they have like really been trying a lot around newsletters lately, trying newsletters for different audiences, and pulling that knowledge into the idea that like the organizing principle for this type of coverage could be a newsletter, as well as like really listening to their community and listening to like what's missing from the culture coverage that they're already doing that's very focused on like traditional television, traditional movies and music or whatever, and pulling that together into the idea that like this specific thing is really missing from the marketplace. This is the way that we want to deliver it to people.
So when you say streaming, you're thinking like
Netflix,
Hulu,
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're gonna cover like all of those kinds of, and I hope like maybe like YouTube stars also. Like that's an area that no one is covering right now, and people are really passionate about. There's a huge market for that.
My friend Amina, like 3 or 4 weeks ago on Twitter, I don't know what got into her head, but she was just like, I'm going to start tweeting out all my favorite vines. And she did it for like an hour, but then people kept replying back, like vines they liked. And it was an amazing feeling because I realized that I kept seeing vines like in isolation, but I didn't necessarily, I hadn't dove into that community, right? So it was fun to have somebody be like, here are the vines I like, you know, and like give me a way.
Yeah. And like the fact of the matter is more people watch Vine or YouTube or Twitch TV than like straight up watch whatever was on TV last night. Like so many people are watching those things, except we don't cover them because we don't think of them as like television or movies, right? So it's really smart of the Times to like recognize that whole and hear that from their audience. And then I hope that what they'll do as they roll it out is like really get the buy-in from the communities of people that are watching these kind of things and really listen to their feedback about whether this is working for them or not, and then, you know, keep incorporating that back into the product.
Are they launching it as a newsletter? Are they going to, will it be findable on their site or just a newsletter?
Oh, I'm sure it'll be findable on their site, but it would be awesome if it was just a newsletter.
Yeah, like you're either, you get it or you don't. I like it. I like it. Well, guys, I'm going to kind of switch and go deep with Jess on some projects, but do you have any questions about sort of some of these general things, sort of how to start approaching platforms or thinking about your audience?
I have a question.
Come up to the hot seat.
I don't know if this is like too early to talk about this or not, but we are working as a group on a project where we're using the Matterport to document student housing around Morgantown, which I guess, Phoebe, you know about that. But I'm running the social media team for that, and I guess I was just I wanted to pick your brain on how we would approach it now, and then also maybe for promotional reasons, and also just interacting with our audience, who is mostly college students.
Yeah, that's awesome. Phoebe was telling me a little bit about the project earlier. It sounds really, really cool. I was really jealous, actually. I wish we could do that.
I know. Everybody I've told this project to at the Post is like, that's such a good idea.
I expected you to know want to run it.
I mean, no, but...
Go ahead. Sorry.
So what have you guys done so far in terms of, like, finding people who you want to profile or, like, stories that you want to tell? Have you been using social for that at all?
I guess we've kind of just been using like word of mouth, like who our friends are, like people that we know, where they live, where we live, stuff like that. We actually haven't like started the social media stuff yet. I was gonna meet up with some people soon, and but yeah, so we're in the very, very beginning stages still.
Cool. So I mean, I always get excited at that stage of a project to like try to figure out where people are telling these stories already or where they're talking about these kinds of issues. So maybe it's on Facebook or Twitter, or maybe there's like an email listserv or a forum somewhere, or, you know, on Yik Yak around their dorm area. Or like, it takes a little bit of research up front to start to find it, but it's almost like, it's like once you find the entry point, it's like you start pulling the thread and it unravels really quickly. So if you can find where people are having that conversation, or like a key person in that conversation, you'll be able to sort of follow that thread in and figure out where that is already happening. And that's really the most effective way to start using the social discovery piece of it. Because we try here at the Post all the time to like make people tell us stuff. So we'll like put a call out on our website, like, tell us your story about XYZ. And like people do, because we're big enough that we have that kind of audience, but it is so much more effective, and you get a much more authentic range of stories in a way by finding where people are already doing that and being able to like tap into what they were doing organically.
So I actually sort of led us perfectly into one of the case studies that I wanted to talk about. So I don't want to not finish talking about the Matterport housing project, but I think this might be illuminating, which is, Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about Instagram and Hyperlink?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, very much on the thread of what we were just talking about. So Harper Lee, the author, obviously passed away several weeks ago. And when that happened, the social team, we huddled up really quick and we were just like, listen, this is something people care about a lot. That means people are going to be talking about it. It means people are going to want to talk about it. What do we do? What can we do that like is quick, that we can ramp up within a couple of hours, that's going to tap into that sentiment a little bit? And we thought about it, and we thought about like, what are the things people are going to be doing organically? What are the places that they're going to be doing it? And we decided to jump in and do a project around having people show us their copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. Like, this is something everyone has in their home or like had as a child or read in school. Everyone has a copy of that book. It's a really, really easy ask of people to say, like, show us your copy of the book. As opposed to, we sort of thought around like other types of ideas, like, do we want people to like write us a thing about like what Mockingbird meant to them as a child, or how it changed their life, or how they like view it differently now than the first time that they read it? And we're kind of like, no, all of that is too complicated. It's not what people are feeling right now. What they're feeling is just like straight up, oh my god, like this is something that mattered to me and this is bad. So we launched a project on Instagram that was Show Us Your Mockingbird, and we asked people to send us photos of their copy of To Kill a Mockingbird. And the thing that ended up being really interesting about it is that some people did send us their copies of To Kill a Mockingbird, and they sent it straight to us like we were asking. But actually, we really found the most success by looking through Instagram and looking at all the people who were posting that anyway and weren't really thinking about us when they did it. This was just their like organic outpouring of response to what had happened. So we were able to like not only take the call out that we did, but really reach into the community, find some really, really beautiful photographs, some really interesting stories to go with them. And so it was a really neat kind of like Instagram first project. And then we pulled all that stuff out and turned it into an article on our site as well, because it was nice content for us. But actually that article was, I think in the scheme of things, like, not nearly as successful as the sort of community building aspect in Instagram. But that idea, and like we were just talking about, that idea of being able to tap into where people are doing things organically and authentically, and having that in mind, even if you're trying to engineer your own call-out, still thinking about what people are kind of wanting to do already and sort of creating a forum for that while also finding where it's already going on. I think that's kind of the key to thinking about this kind of project. And one of the ways that I approach any UGC project, especially ones where
I'm going to pause you for just a second. What is UGC?
UGC is user-generated content. So that's anything where you're asking people to, or you're taking stuff that's created by people rather than by journalists. Sorry.
That's okay. I use it myself, but I figure you guys may not have heard that term.
But yeah, so one of the things with a project where you're really dependent on like getting things from people or making people do something for you, is that there's obviously always a really large possibility that they're not going to do it. And we have really, really often had cases where people don't do it, or we like thought they were going to do a thing and they don't do it. So one of the things that I go into any project that relies on user contributions now, I always go in with a failure plan. So I always say, like, if nobody sends us anything, how does this not fail? And usually that means either like we already know that it is something that people are doing without us, and we will be fine being able to tap into what's already happening. Or in some cases, it means that we know we have the tools to solicit from specific people and like email our friends or email, contacts that we have and ask them to give us their stuff. And then like at the very least, you have that pool of things, but you're never going to end up like staring at an empty screen like, oh my God, my project just failed because nobody wanted to like tell me how Harper Lee changed their racist views that they grew up with, or whatever.
Can you kind of talk about the pros and cons of being very prescriptive versus like giving somebody something that's a little more open-ended when we talk about a social network?
Yeah. In general, people require a lot of direction in order to do things. It's really, really difficult. So, like, if I said to you right now, tell me a story, your brain is going to freeze up. It's really, really difficult to answer something that's so, like, do anything you want to do. But if I said to you, tell me a story about a time that you felt disrespected in the classroom, suddenly your mind is able to go to something that's a very specific example from your life, something that's very emotional for you, and you're able to recall that out of your brain. So in general, when we think about how we ask people for things, we try to think about something that is a really specific ask that gives them a lot of direction as to what they're meant to do for us. And that actually, it seems a little counterintuitive because you're like ruling out a lot of things that people might do, but actually by doing that and narrowing it down, you're making it easier for people to do the like single thing that you need them to do. So we tend to think about things that way. The other thing that's really, like, we try to keep in mind when we're thinking about how we get people to participate with us is, like, either what do they want to tell us? So what are they kind of, like, dying to get out? What can they give us that we don't have? So can they actually fill in gaps in our reporting? Can they be helpful to us in some way? Or, like, what can we use their collective ability, collective knowledge to, like, accomplish in some way? So it's you're either making some sort of, like, emotional appeal, so something that, like, gets feelings stirred up and gets people to feel like they, like, deep within them, they're being, like, pulled to contribute because this speaks to them in a certain way. Or you're tapping into, like, that sense of, hey, I can help. I can be part of this. I know this thing. I'm going to tell you. And you need to be on one of those two sides of the coin. Those are the two things that get people to, like, overcome the natural, like, inclination to not want to do anything.
Does that help lead you a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely got my wheels turning. I feel like brainstorming is already starting. So thank you.
Well,
yeah, I'll say that even at the post, sometimes, the lead up to, like, the ask that gets us what we want, there's a lot of asks that you can start asks in your reporting that aren't your ultimate ask.
Yeah. Well, like, one of the things that I think we don't do enough, actually, that is one of the best strategies for figuring out and approach this is, like, trying something small before you try something big. So we actually, again, getting to that idea of things that feel really organic. Like, if you try something really little and see that there's a certain response to it, then you can expand, you can, like, go up from that. So we've had some really good success. For example, in an article that was about, like, the crazy ways that people organize their bookshelves. So it's like these people who organize their bookshelves by color and by, I don't remember if they bought specific books or, like, bought specific book covers to, like, make the colors right. And we had an article about that like, nobody really thought about one way or the other, but it turned out that people were really angry about this idea that, like, you would buy books as just an aesthetic, like, to show off your bookcase. And we got a ton of response to it. And so that was a trigger for us to say, like, hey, there's totally something else here. We can use what people have already responded to us with as, like, the kernel of doing something bigger around this topic that, like, we totally didn't realize people had such deep feelings about what bookshelves look like.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that, I mean, I work at the Post, and I should know this, but I actually remember the Instagrams around that, but I don't ever remember reading them.
Yeah.
That seeing the social conversation around something and the fact that the Post was willing to jump into that social conversation, like, that is a really effective way of reaching your audience, where the article alone obviously didn't reach me because I never read it. I didn't even know it had it.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's I think an interesting way. I just myself personally participated in what was clearly some sort of call out. I didn't even bother to investigate what it was, but BuzzFeed Books started a hashtag on Twitter that became a very active conversation around your book confessions.
Mm.
But one of the things I thought was so interesting about it as like both an observer and a participant is it wasn't quite clear what they wanted to get out of it. Was it like, I don't keep my books? Or was it like, here's authors that I'm ashamed of reading? Or here's like, you know, not really bad, right? Like, I buy more books than I should, or something like that. You know, that's a little bit more cute. And it was even like going through it on Twitter, like people interacted with it very differently. But I mean, whatever. I saw a writer I admire tweeting about it, and so then I also was like, okay, well, I'll join that. That seems cool.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, we've had cases like that where things, like, think it's going to go one way, and it ends up going a totally different way. I'm trying to think, I can't think of an example of it, but where, like, we put a call out into social, and we, like, really expected people to respond to it with, like, going in a particular direction. And they totally took it an opposite direction, and like we had to just like really quickly course correct and say like that's okay, like that's what we're gonna do. But this is not what we meant to do that from the beginning, guys. That's what it was meant to. So
you have to go where your audience wants to have a conversation. Well, I mean, now that we've talked a little bit about that, I'm curious from a social perspective to hear your thoughts about video. What can video do on a social platform that words alone?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So video, as far like for me, and I'm gonna pretend Phoebe's not here right now.
That's okay.
But video is a really hard proposition when it comes to news because often people are encountering video in places where they're not prepared to watch a video. So if you click on a link and you expect to see an article, you expect to read an article, and you expect to read it really quickly, and if there's a video there, it's going to take a lot for you to like want to engage with that video and sit and watch that video when all you expected was to read a couple of lines of text and be out of it. So video is a really, really difficult thing to incorporate. I think one of the things that social has done is create some spaces where there is actually an expectation of watching video. So Facebook is probably the best example of this. They've created a platform where like you feel really natural encountering a video there, and you're no longer surprised to see it. It's not disrupting your experience on the platform. It's actually like now something that you expect to see there. You know how to engage with it. The fact that it like starts out playing silently, everyone's like really comfortable with that conceptually. So Facebook has created a space that like way more than our own article pages is a really great place to do video. I think Snapchat is really similar where like people expect to encounter video there, they want to encounter video there, it's not a surprise. And so actually a lot of these social platforms are creating new opportunities around video that we've been kind of struggling against for a really long time by trying to like shoehorn video into the experience. But the kind of flip side of that is that the type of video that works on these social platforms is really different from what we think about when we think about what we're going to put in an article. So, you know, we know that for Facebook, because it's going to play silently for the beginning of when a person encounters it, it needs to be really visual right from the beginning. So no, like, setup, no lead-in, no, like, anchor standing talking at the thing. The action needs to start right away. It needs to be captioned, so you need to be able to, like, see the words happening. Things need to be moving fast. They need to be bright. Well, that's a really different type of video experience than we would give on our site. And it makes it really difficult to, like, cross-purpose videos the same way that we, like, just take the links to our articles and stick them on Facebook, and it's fine. If you just stick the same videos that are happening on your site on Facebook, it's not fine, and they're not really going to do that well. So it kind of, like, simultaneously opens up this really huge new opportunity of a place where people want to watch video and you can give that to them, but also is sort of forcing a reevaluation of what news video looks like, and creating a different situation where you actually do have to be creating different things for different platforms in a way that not everyone has the bandwidth to accomplish.
I think that's interesting. I've had a lot of conversations with people making videos where they will say, do you think I should do a clip for Facebook? But what they mean by that is not, should I cut something that is right for Facebook?
They mean, should I make it shorter?
They mean, should I make it shorter? Yeah, no, and that's like an easy trick to fall into, right? That you think that, like, oh, it's social. I'll just give you a 30-second, like, Reader's Digest condensed novel version of this video, as opposed to I'll give you this one scene and I'll caption it, and that's what I'll give you.
Yeah. No, we had a project the other day that was, like, it had a huge kind of mini doc video in it. It was about George Mason's basketball team the year that they made a run at the Final Four, and it was this, like, miraculous, like, no one ever expected that they would do it. And it was a beautiful mini documentary video that was paired with this article. It was really, really lovely. And we got a Facebook cut of it, and it was like a 30-second clip that made no sense out of context, didn't have captions on it. And it's just, it's hard because, you know, you can't really ask video producers to create a whole separate thing after they just spent, you know, making a mini documentary. But also, like, that mini documentary clip does not work on Facebook out of context. It just doesn't, and it's, you know, it's hard.
Well, and when I work with people in my department and they say, how should we do this? I mean, some of it is just needing to know the fact. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. I mean, I can take your video, like, I can do it myself, right? And I can help you talk through that. But at some point, it's always going to feel foreign, right? It's going to be like writing with your opposite hand, right? I'm right-handed. It's going to be like trying to write with your left hand, unless you've spent time on that platform, right? Why do I watch a video? That doesn't mean that everyone watches videos on Facebook the way I do, but I'm at least a little closer to understanding what that behavior is. Yeah. So, which I think we talked about this at the beginning of class, but, you know, my #1 piece of advice to everyone is that you have at least one social platform that you love and that you spend a lot of time on. Because even though the lessons don't always go across, at least you've got something, right? At least you've got, like, the beginnings of knowledge, right? If Kik is your thing, and Laura is your thing, you know, you start to understand how a community works on a platform. So it doesn't translate, but at least gets you comfortable with that word, definitely. All right, so that's video. And you actually got to the next question, which is what are the downfalls? Why don't we jump to my last question and then turn back to Q&A, which is, how do you get new ideas about how to approach stories?
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. I I don't know. That is a really, really difficult question. I mean, I think for myself, most of what I do is really in collaboration with reporters and editors. So a lot of it is a marriage of what I know about social platforms and communities and like reporting that they've done or stories that they want to tell, and figuring out how to marry those two things together is often sort of where the cool things come from, being able to bring both those two sides together. I will say I also just like read a ton about what other people are doing. Like, quite honestly, I read every newsletter that's out there about digital media. I save every single thing that I think is interesting or cool so that I can come back to it later. And just try to like keep all of those ideas in my back pocket, because at some point something's going to come up that's like right for it, and you need to have it still in your head to be able to access and say like, this is like, I can make this marriage between this idea and this other thing that I heard about. So I think that's really important. I also, maybe this is weird, but I also keep like Google Drive stack of just like every random idea that I've had. Again, because at some point, like, something's going to be relevant for it. Or the other thing that happens all the time is, like, someone will randomly come up to you and say, like, hey, I need an idea for this. Or, like, what would you want to do around that? And just having that, like, pool of things that have occurred to me at some point to just, like, say, give me a second and I'll just, like, get something for you. It's super helpful. It's really, really difficult. It's surprisingly difficult. I've learned this over the years. It's surprisingly difficult to like have the same idea again. If you don't write it down the first time, I forget, and I will never have it again, or I will like have it again at a not useful time and not at the right time when I need it. So I've gotten really good at just writing crap down so that I can pull it again when it becomes relevant. I don't know if that answered your question. There's
keep an ideas notebook. Look, you know, be on the list of like how people are writing about things. All right. So, what other questions? We have one good question, but I know you guys have other questions for Jess Stahl. Also, you know, this is your opportunity to ask one of the top working journalists in the country for advice about how to execute your story. So,
well, can I ask you guys a question while you're mining over it? What social platforms do you guys use that you're really into and like make up most of your social time?
Snapchat.
Yeah? Do you guys who are on Snapchat, do you follow like companies, or is it just your friends and family on there?
A mixture, not the company, but people who work for companies.
People who work for companies, they said?
Mm-hmm.
I follow a lot of bands.
YouTube stars.
Bands, YouTube stars.
I like Peach.
Peach? You said, I heard of Peach.
Anyone?
What is that?
Wait, did you just say peach?
He said Peach.
There you go. It's your first peach eater out in the wild who's not a journalist.
Yes.
My God.
I'm so excited about that. I'm going to tell one of my colleagues is obsessed with it, and we all make fun of him. We're like, no one uses that.
I know, it's terrible. I'm trying. Everyone make a peach. Basically, all I do is blow kisses at my friends. No, not.
All right, wait. Whoever is the one who yelled out peach needs to come sit in the hot seat and tell us about it. Yes, here we go. It's Justin. Of course, it's Justin.
The pitch for peach.
Pitch for peach.
Pitch for peach.
You know, I haven't like delved. I've used it, but it's like kind of limiting because I don't know a lot of people who use it. Literally like 5. Unless I start. I'm not pitching this as like a thing for our class to use, am I?
No, pitch it any way you want.
Oh, all right, got it. Okay, well, I kind of like it that it's. I like that it's kind of more. It seems like it reminds me more of like the group messages that I have, like text messages that I have with my friends and stuff. I kind of like that. And you can like, I don't know. It's funny, like it's novel. Like you can blow kisses at people and stuff. I don't know. Funny. It's cute. What?
Play peach ball.
I haven't.
You can play a game of peach ball with your friends.
I haven't done that yet. Oh yeah, because you can like tag like your location and you can say like, and you can like draw with your finger and like it has all these cool little things. It kind of reminds me of like, I don't know. I just think it's cute. What other purpose does it serve?
Just like communications.
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose it could be like. Yeah, I wouldn't use it for news, but I would use it maybe for like keeping in touch with my friends, like a little personal blog, like your diary or something.
Do you guys use Snapchat to get? I mean, do you follow? You said you follow bands. Do you follow any news? You said you follow NPR.
Well, they have like Snapchat.
You do just look on the sky. I think I follow
The
NPR.
geofilters, where's that thing we have on the computer?
I can't remember.
The geofilters. It's
On your handheld
Your
computer,
handheld
on
computer
that
device.
newfangled.
Is it post center on Snapchat?
It is. Wait, I was just gonna see if I could pull up the like
Things.
thing for you to take a picture of, but I realized it's probably not going to work on the screen. But we're Washington Post on Snapchat. You should follow us.
What do you want? You wanna?
I don't know. I don't know what I want. I want a good picture so that I can tweet you. You know?
Tweet me.
That's the old school. It's, you know, soon I'll be on my 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, and they
Really?
have the advice naturally.
So what, Jess, what do you use? Do you use Peach?
No.
Are you offended by that question?
No, we tried Peach. I was actually really into it conceptually, but exactly the same like you said, like nobody's using it. So a social network is only as good as like the network it has. So it's not that helpful.
I'm always curious to see if. So I know people who are now like IRL friends because of Twitter.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that with other social networks since. Like a very good friend of mine has a group of like probably 6 or 7 people she hangs out with regularly, and they all met because they lived in DC and they used Twitter when still not a ton of people were on the platform. So you would just like make friends because who else were you gonna talk to?
Facebook groups are like that too.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I mean, Instagram is like that as photographers.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I've met people through Facebook groups and I've made a lot of connections that way. Cool platform, I think, using Facebook.
Yeah. Facebook groups is something that we've played around with a lot as like a community building tool, not to like take it back to the serious place, but like there's a lot of potential there in the way that it brings people together in a like really confined way. So it's like a lot safer than just like putting things out into Facebook where you get all the really awful comments on like a Facebook group you can control. And we've actually tried some interesting experiments around like conversations that happen in Facebook groups. And that's always something that I think there's more potential with, whether it's like Facebook groups or Slack communities or like something where you're putting together like a very defined group of people that you like selected in some way so you know that it's going to be a really positive conversation around a tough topic. I don't have more ideas about it than that, but there's always been something there for me.
Yeah. Did you read, there's who ran that piece about the Facebook group of mothers?
Yeah, we ran that.
Did we? I'm platform neutral. I don't even know where I read things anymore. I'll find a link to this and throw it into Slack, but it started out of this woman's book. and it became this amazing community. But what's fascinating is as it grew in size, it self-destructed because the community got so large.
Yeah. I mean, that always happens. I'm in a Facebook group that's around like social journalism and digital media. And it also, like, there's just a splinter group that formed because people are, like, done with the main group. Like, it's too many people and people aren't doing it the right way anymore or whatever. It's a hard balance to keep, especially, like, if you think about for the Washington Post, right? And we have, like, millions and millions of readers. Like, how do you create a community and keep it manageable when we just, like, are accessing that many people at one given time? It's really hard. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we've almost essentially like seeded over our Facebook comments on our Facebook page. Like, we can't control it. It's just too much. And we can't turn that into useful conversation anymore, which is really upsetting because when I was at a smaller organization, the Facebook page was a really, really strong conversational tool that we had. And it's just not becomes like just too difficult for a company this size. And I hate saying that, but it's true.
What other questions are out there? I know you guys have questions. You're getting started on your major project. Hopefully you're thinking about ways to incorporate social either in your reporting or you're trying to think ahead to how you're going to roll it out.
We actually already have a Slack group where we're like discussing ideas about it already today. We were just talking about like different places that students kind of already organically talk about it. Like what you were saying earlier, we thought maybe Snapchat would be a good one because I feel like if I were to show a picture of where I was living or something, I would just do a little quick video Snapchat. Or we talked about Facebook too, just as like a place where people vent about living issues or things like that. Still brainstorming though.
Emily, you mentioned on the channel that your university uses GroupMe.
A lot of students here use GroupMe. Of course, Snapchat and Twitter and stuff.
Do you all feel like that's like a popular platform at WVU?
Everyone has to. Yeah.
Everyone?
Every organization I'm in has one. I'm in like 5 GroupMes right now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe like weird. I don't really like it, but that's just because there's like so many notifications.
Oh, you know, use that. It blows it up.
But you can always turn it How would we use that though?
Yeah, how do you get that into a social platform? Multiple.
Yeah.
You're getting blown up in like 6 or 7.
Yeah, it would work, but
It's the same girl.
I'm wondering if I
It's the same girl. It's really just like sophisticated.
Nice.
No, I want to hear. I could vaguely hear somebody saying why they didn't like GroupMe, but I couldn't hear all the details.
That was me. Everyone else loves it.
All up here.
Yeah, you have our support. We all need it back here.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm not alone.
Show of hands. Who hates GroupMe?
Okay, I'm not alone apparently.
Wait, everyone hates GroupMe, but you all use it anyway. Is that what just happened?
It's peer pressure.
Yeah, you don't have a choice. I'm still like 10 groups and I deleted the app.
Well, if you're like in a bunch of groups, it's just a lot of notifications.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the annoyance of it. I don't know how we would make a presence on there anyway, unless you guys have ideas about that.
Yeah, you just blow it up. That would discourage people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just me why I don't. Like, I usually just turn my notifications off and then miss, like, a whole conversation while I'm doing something, you know?
Yeah, the more you're going to get blown up with more people participating, people are going to turn it off, and it's just going to shut down. So it's really just for more intimate.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just more for intimate type conversations, really.
Where do you like to have conversations with big groups of people?
I like my phone, like, or the, like, just messaging on iMessage. fine for me. I think is where it gets complicated. So like if people are Android users and they're in the group message, that's why they'll go to GroupMe sometimes because you can't have a big iMessage group. You messed us up.
Is there any way, like, you know, there's an our campus story? I wonder if we could do something like that with this. Like, how do you get to be cool enough to get an R blank story?
I mean, you pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
University
We're
Relations is in charge of that. So
Even West Virginia University doesn't have one.
But
Well, Snapchat runs a story for us, but we have West Virginia U, that's our Snapchat, but we don't have it doesn't go to everybody, it only goes to people who follow it. So University Relations does run one, but WVU Snapchat is run by like an ambassador here at the university.
Okay.
But I was going to actually mention that because Candace Nelson is the one in charge of it, and I'm actually doing one of the Takeover Tuesdays. I guess I plan this like super in advance because I'm not doing it until July. But yeah, so I don't know if like I could talk to her about letting us do it one day this semester. That way at least people can like see what we're doing. You know. I mean, just send her an email and tell her what's up.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just going to be like videos. I mean, you know, it's going to be like, good morning, how are you? You know, it's gonna, I mean, we can make it really interesting.
Yeah.
This would be good for them. It'd be good for WVU.
Yeah. I think Davey's on.
Where would we be able to find some kind of there's got to be like reports put out by all these social networking sites about like where their users are primarily located, like geographically.
Well,
what is
like
what
what
is
time they're most
What is
trafficking.
the goal that you're hoping to achieve by like are you still talking about the group project?
The student housing, yeah.
Yeah, like what are you hoping to accomplish with that?
The ultimate goal.
Yeah.
The big question.
Well, no, just like the small question specifically pertaining to social media.
Pertaining to social media, I would just want people to be engaged with it.
But like, so are you hoping that people will just give you like snapshots of where they live? Or
their space?
Essentially.
And then
if they want it.
Or a video,
right.
or people
And
who are
then you would use
interested.
that how?
It would be a way. It would just be a way to see visually to get an idea of where of around town.
So it would be to brainstorm, but it would be incorporated in the final project?
Well, we could incorporate it in the final project because
I
the
wasn't
thing is,
here
the
on the
thing
day
is,
that we talked about it. So I'm
right? Okay, so the thing is, I can't easily share with you a Matterport scan.
That's right.
But like I can embed a photo in a single post, so you don't have to click through a link to see it. So the photo could be important and utilized as like the grab. Or you can even do the same thing with a video. But like unfortunately the Matterport scan thing, it's going to take you to like a website. It's going to be slow to load. Some people aren't going to know that you need to use Chrome and not. I mean.
But so you would get a snapshot from somebody, and then you would be interested in that place. So then you would go to their place and make a Matterport of that place, but just use the snapshot to get people interested in seeing the Matterport.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like, well, it's kind of promotional, first of all. I mean, we'll use it as, like, people can go to, I guess we're doing a website, right, where the Matterport scans would be. So people can come to our site, and then they'll be like, oh, there's a bunch of scans of different places that I can stay, or my friends are staying, or whatever. I don't know.
Plus, like, it's just a greater outreach, so it's like it can kind of go beyond what we're doing, even though it's not as advanced and intricate as a Matterport scan. People can still share their spaces, and we can gain a lot more variety that way. And it's a good hook, because Matterports are difficult to share. That's what I've always been worried about with it.
If you wanted to do different aspects on like Snapchat, wouldn't it be like, you know how you can make your own Snapchat? What if you made a class Snapchat and put the follow? You know how you have the thing where it's like follow and you scan it?
Mm-hmm.
You have a bunch of people join that, and they could do like a video of their like of their place and put it on, and then people people can like scroll through it. And like on the website, put that as a thing, say, hey, look at more places, or put on your own, and they can find that. You can share it like, what do you mean?
Like, how would we all?
If they send you a Snapchat, they send the Snapchat to the class Snapchat. And then how are we gonna re-Snapchat?
Hey guys, I'm afraid we have to let Jess go so that she can get back to her day job or her night job, as the case may be. But thank you, Jess, for coming and joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you guys. This is really interesting.
Thank
And I
you.
love this project. I want to see when it's done. I really do.
All right, sounds good. So let's all thank Jess for coming and joining us today. All right, I'm gonna walk her out, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm gonna sign out of this and create a new hangout.
Hey, Stevie, we'll take a little break.
Yep, sounds great.
All right.
Rachel, why don't you throw that